Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Popular Decks. I'm your host Michael and I'm here to help you all get better at competitive Pauper. Just a reminder before we get started, please leave any feedback you have for me in the comments below, and if you'd like to be notified when I release new content, hit the subscribe button. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like to receive tweets whenever I go live on stream or post new videos to YouTube. Finally, I don't have a poll for this week since there are a few decks I'd like to play in the next couple weeks, and I think you'll really enjoy them, but I don't want to ruin the surprise, so that should be really fun, I think. Alright, let's get to the deck. The winner of this week's poll was Midnight Gond. I'm using Deluxikov's list since it is the most recently posted Midnight Gond deck to go 5-0. For those of you who don't know, the deck is named after the combo of Midnight Guard and Presence of Gond. So Midnight Guard untaps anytime another creature enters the battlefield, and Presence of Gond lets you tap a creature to put a 1/1 elf creature token into play. So when you enchant the Midnight Guard with Presence of Gond, you can tap it to make a 1/1 elf creature, and that untaps the Midnight Guard, and you can make infinite tokens that way. And other than the combo, the deck plays out like basically a green-white token deck. And one thing that's a good combo with the Midnight Guard and the Presence of Gond is even if we don't get to actually attack them with all of our 1/1s or anything like that, like maybe they have an Electricity or something, we do get to still gain infinite life a lot of the time with Soul's Attendant. So Soul's Attendant and Soul Warden help keep us alive until the late game, and yeah, they're kind of like the roadblock. Then we've got a couple ways to protect the combo. We've got 4 Benevolent Bodyguard. You can sacrifice it to protect the Midnight Guard. Then we've got 2 Prismatic Strands to protect us or our creatures from damage. We've got a couple 4-mana token cards. We've got 4 copies of Battle Screech, and we've got 2 copies of Sen's Enlistment. So Sen's Enlistment is a retrace card, and you can definitely tell this is a Deluxikov deck because retrace is his favorite mechanic, and he always sticks some retrace cards in his deck. So this creates 2 soldier tokens for 4 mana, so it's not a good rate, but if you get flooded out at the end of the game, you can keep making tokens, and a lot of times each set of 2 tokens will gain us 4 life or something if we got a couple Soul Sisters out. Then we've got 4 copies of Commune with the Gods to help us find our combo. It can find either the creature or the enchantment. And then finally we've got a couple spells to pump up our tokens. We've got Rally the Peasants to pump their power, and Spider Silk Armor to pump their toughness and give them reach. This makes us really good against Delver. Like if you drop a Spider Silk Armor and then any of our 1-mana creatures can block their 1/1s, and Midnight Guard can block Delver, and it really makes our Sen's Enlistment tokens awesome. Finally, for the main deck, we've got pretty interesting mana base. You guys might notice that there's a lot of different stuff going on here. So there's 23 lands, which is a few more than most typical Pauper decks, but we've got the Sen's Enlistment to kind of mitigate that a bit if we get flooded. Plus, the deck's really mana hungry. As you can see, we really need to get to 3. We have a lot of stuff at 3, and if we don't get to 3, we're not doing anything. So we've got 4 Colony Garden, which is great with Soul Warden and gains you the life. They chump block. They get so big that they can just regular block stuff with the Spider Silk Armor sometimes. And since we were playing Rally the Peasants, we need a couple of red sources. So we've got a Boros Garrison, a Mountain, and Holdout Settlements. Holdout Settlements are actually better than they would normally be because often we'll play like a Colony Garden on turn 1 and a Holdout Settlement on turn 2. And then we can play one of our Soul Wardens or our Soul's Attendants. We've got some Ash Barrens, and I don't know, we've just got a number of different multicolored lands. And then finally we've got, looks like we've got 6 basic lands. We've got 1 forest, 1 mountain, and 4 plains. So this was the issue I was having with this deck a little bit, was I was having trouble casting my Soul's Attendant and Soul Wardens even on turn 2 because we didn't have as many turn 1 white or turn 2 white sources as I wanted. But I think it might have just been bad luck. There's actually kind of a lot of them in the deck, so we'll see how that plays out this match, or these matches. Alright, for the sideboard. So in the sideboard, we've got 4 copies of Aerial Volley for the Delver decks. We've got 4 copies of Journey to Nowhere for, I don't know, all kinds of different creature decks. We have 1 Ray of Revelation for Boggles or anyone that's relying on enchantments. 4 copies of Standard Bearer. It's obviously great against Boggles and Stompy like in a normal deck, but it also protects our combo, so if there's a targeted removal heavy deck, We could bring in Standard Bearers too. Prismatic Strands, great against Burn, great against Affinity. It like stops the ATOG Fling combo cold. So we got a number of different unique tools in the sideboard. Like I said, for those of you who watch Deluxicup's content or you know anything about his deck building style, you know that this is totally one of his decks. He's got 4 Prismatic Strands in the 75. This is one of his favorite cards. He loves cards that you can cast when you're tapped out. And Prismatic Strands can be a flashback for free, as long as you have a white creature untapped. And then he loves Retrace, and then like he always has these really tapped land heavy mana bases to make sure his colors are really good. So our colors are probably going to be great. It's just we might not have our colors on time. So as far as matchups go, I've only played 1 league with this deck. I did pretty well in it. We pretty easily beat Delver. We beat Stompy. So there were some of the strong matchups, or some of the strong decks in the format we had pretty decent matchup against. So like the Spider Silk Armors, if we can resolve one, is really hard for Delver to win through. And we got a lot of life gain to combat the aggressive decks. And I'm not really sure what this deck's weakness is. I think it's probably the fact that the mana is a little slow, and we could probably get tempoed out of the game. Like if we get turn 1 Delver and then we can't cast anything even on turn 2, and then they've got Spell Stutter up for the rest of the game, maybe Delver wouldn't be quite so good. But I managed to resolve Spider Silk. I managed to resolve Spider Silk Armor in all the games against Delver in my last league, so maybe I'll be able to sneak that by again if we play them again. Other than that, let's get to some games.